Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Again, wasn't really planning to do this, but a few folks were asking me to make a video about this topic, so yallah, why not? Maybe there are a few lessons to be learned here. It's another opportunity for me to message or to hammer this message across, and inshallah I'll get to that in a bit. Let's check out what David has to say about this topic.
Leave it to Islam to send a nation into a violent uproar during a pandemic. In Islam's defense, it is Ramadan, so what were you expecting? The New Arab reports Tunisian authorities have arrested a young woman for publishing fake verses of the Quran about the novel coronavirus. Amna al-Sharqi will be investigated by the Tunisian public prosecution, Al-Bashir reported, for posting a text on her Facebook page entitled Surah Corona. Here's the surah. Surah Corona. COVID. By the eradicating virus. But they were surprised that it came to them from China far away. So the infidels, Kafirun, said it was a stubborn disease. No, rather it is certain death. There is no difference today between the kings and slaves. So hold on to science and abandon traditions. And don't go out to buy wheat. And stay home, for it is a strong scourge. And wash your hands with new soap. Almighty Jallu has provided this truth. Now, if you read the Quran, you know that this sounds exactly like a chapter of the Quran. Stop lying.
Okay, the only similarity is the fact that you have the rhymes at the end, and it starts off with a few ripped off words here and there. It's trying to rip off Surah Qaf, in the beginning at least. But let's carry on.
David, the Quran only works in Arabic. Come on, you can read anything in that silly Quran recitation voice. COVID by the eradicating virus.
Done?
Wow, I guess it does sound like the Quran. Three things to keep in mind with this story. First, the Quran's main argument for its divine inspiration is what I call the argument from literary excellence. The Quran challenges.
I just want to comment quickly about this. Something sounding like the Quran due to recitation. You can recite the newspaper if you want. It doesn't make it similar in any way to the Quran. You can recite the telephone book. It doesn't make it similar to the Quran.
For instance, here's the challenge in Surah 2, verse 23. And if you are in doubt as to that which we have revealed to our servant, then produce a chapter like it, and call on your witnesses besides Allah, if you are truthful. That's the challenge. Produce a chapter like it. But if you write a chapter like it, Muslims have you arrested and threaten to chop your head off. So, if you want to prove that our religion is false, produce a chapter like a chapter of the Quran.
Okay, so firstly, this never actually happened historically. I mean, during the time of the Prophet, peace be upon him, when the challenge was put out, it was put out in Mecca, when the Muslims were a minority, when the Muslims were being oppressed, and yet no one stepped up to take on the challenge. Even during the Medina era, like the challenge could have been taken up by someone from Mecca or someone from any surrounding area in the Hijaz or from elsewhere, anywhere that was not under Muslim control, and yet no one took it up. So yeah, let's carry on.
By the way, if you do, you're dead. What an amazing religion. Second, this has been going on for 14 centuries. When Muhammad was delivering his revelations in Mecca, a man named Al-Nadr ibn al-Harith would follow him around. Muhammad would recite his latest verses, and al-Nadir would stand up and recite some verses of his own, and then ask the listeners, in what way are Muhammad's verses better than mine?
Okay, so first of all, that's not even true. If you go back to Sirat ibn Hisham, you'll find that Nadr ibn Harith did not recite verses. He did not attempt to come up with his own Qur'an or anything like that. He did not attempt the Quranic challenge. All that he did was he mentioned the tales of the Persians, the legends of the Persians, and he would say, in what way are the stories of Muhammad better than mine? That's what he did. He did not attempt the Qur'an's challenge. So you should get your facts straight, David.
Some of the Quran verses where unbelievers keep making fun of Muhammad's revelations, saying, these are nothing but tales of the ancients, were a response to al-Nadir. Al-Nadir was captured after the Battle of Badr. Most of the prisoners were held for ransom, but not al-Nadir. He was killed. 14 centuries later,
he was killed because he's the friggin' flag bearer, dude. Okay? Carry on, carry on.
Muslims are still calling for the deaths of people who can imitate the Quran.
Okay, so let's start off by going through some of this. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail. I'm just going to point out a few things here and there. Perhaps it will give you some clarity as to why this is stupid and as to why this shouldn't have received any attention. And now all of a sudden you got David Wood, you got other people making videos about this and trying to making this a much bigger deal than it should be. Girls shouldn't have gotten death threats. She shouldn't have been arrested. She should have been ignored, in my opinion. In any case, so it starts off COVID by the eradicating virus, but they were surprised that it came to them from China far away. So the infidels, kafirun, said it was a stubborn disease. Now, why does it say kafirun? Well, basically, she's ripping off Surah Qaf, which says, فَقَالَ الْكَافِرُونَ هَذَا شَيْءٌ عَجِيبٌ. Right? So that's how the kuffar react to the Qur'an. This is an amazing thing. This is a surprising thing. And she's stuck with the word kafirun because she's trying to rip off Surah Qaf. Now, this is, of course, irrelevant to what we're going through because everyone says that COVID is a stubborn disease. It's not just the kafirun. It's not just the non-believers. Muslims as well say that it's a stubborn disease. So there's absolutely no reason for her to have mentioned that the kafirun said this. If she said فَقَالَ النَّاسِ إِنَّهُ مَرَضٌ عَنِيدٌ, if she said instead that the people said it was a stubborn disease, then that would have been a better choice of words. But there you go. You got something silly right off the bat. Carrying on, the next verse says, no, rather it is certain death. Now, as we all know, the vast majority of people that fall prey to corona don't pass away. So no, it's not certain death. I mean, it should be quite obvious. Carrying on, let's see. Okay, so this one is important. And don't go out to buy wheat. Why wheat? There's absolutely nothing here that makes wheat special for it to be mentioned, except for the rhyme. In Arabic, لا تخرجوا لتشتروا السميد. Now in Arabic it says السميد for wheat, which fits in with the rhyme scheme, تقاليد السميد شديد جديد. All right, so it sounds so it does rhyme, but the problem is when you're sacrificing meaning for the sake of rhyme, that's something that you're going to be called out for by critics of poetry and critics of eloquence. That's just how it works. So this falls short. This is a problem. Yeah. Carrying on, it ends with, and wash your hands with new soap. Similarly, the inclusion of the statement new soap specifically the word new, al-jadid, is there just to fit in with the rhyme. This is again problematic. You're not supposed to sacrifice the meaning for rhyme. You can use, old soap. You can use soap that you've had in your place during the past month. It being newly manufactured doesn't really make a difference. But yeah, that's another thing. If we go through the basic themes in this so-called surah, it starts off mentioning the people's surprise and their reaction towards the virus, and then it goes on talking about preventative measures. And it's quite strange. Halabi pointed this out to me. I didn't notice this originally, but it starts off saying that it is a stubborn disease, and that it leads to certain death. Rather, it's certain death, and then ends off with, so wash your hands with new soap. And if it's certain death, then washing your hands with new soap isn't going to really make much of a difference, and it's not really certain death. Again, so يعني it's silly. It's very easy to come up with rhymes. It's very easy. It's hard to be eloquent. I'd like you to keep two things in mind in regards to the topic of eloquence. It's important, it's very important that when you're attempting the Qur'an's challenge, of course I'm speaking to critics of Islam, it can't be stupid. You can't have stupid statements. Stupidity doesn't fit in with eloquence. If it's stupid, it fails the challenge. All right? It's a very simple criteria. Don't be stupid. All right? You can't say it's certain death, go wash your hands. Right? Secondly, don't sacrifice meanings for the sake of a rhyme. All right? And this is something that many attempts fall into. And this is one of the harder things, I guess, trying to come up with a good rhyme without sacrificing meaning. Poets fall into this error, and they always get called out for it. Even modern poets, ancient poets, they all get called out for sacrificing the meaning for the sake of a rhyme. Once again, I'd like to remind you guys that this was not attempted by the people of Mecca. This was not attempted by the greatest poets during the time of Rasulullah. Instead, you had the greatest poets of the time convert to Islam. I wonder why. Yalla, assalamu alaikum guys. Inshallah you enjoyed this one. I'll see you guys in the next one. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.